And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, and I'm so excited to welcome for the very first time to our Amazon Live broadcast, LaWanna Bradford. She's a great friend of mine, known her now for over a decade. She's also an individual you guys have gotten to know because of her work with the Bradford Group. We're going to talk to her about that and the big milestone they're celebrating this year. Also, she's featured in the current issue of Conversations magazine, and she's a contributor to the book you guys see here, 31 Ways of Influence. LaWanna, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Cyrus. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's always great to catch up with you, even if the world gets to hear what we're talking about. It just means I have to be more careful.
Exactly.
I'm excited about this, LaWanna. We're going to let our audience know how they can stay connected with you. You have some great things that are coming up for 2022. We'll get into that a bit. Just going to check our settings on Facebook to make sure everything is set to public before we go
Okay,
live here. And then we're going to connect with our friends on Amazon, okay?
that works.
All right, and I also want to let you guys know if you have any questions or comments for LaWanna, we do have the chat that will be open, so feel free to be able to drop those in for us. We'd love to be able to bring those on screen and share those. If you're not following us on Amazon Live, you all can be able to find the link to that no matter what broadcast you guys are joining us on now. So I'll invite you guys to follow us there so you know every time we go live on Amazon Live. Typically, we have shows 7 days a week. We were off yesterday because of some tech issues. But you can always catch up with all of our programming there on cyruswebshow.live. So, LaWanna, it looks like we're all good there on Facebook. All of our settings are public. You probably be getting some dings because I have you tagged on Twitter as well as on, on Facebook as well for this conversation. Going to go ahead and bring in our Amazon Live audience and we'll get started.
All right.
And you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. And boy, do we have a great segment coming up for you guys today. I'm excited to welcome LaWanna Bradford of the Bradford Group to our program. LaWanna is someone I've known now for over a decade. She's also someone I'm glad to call a friend. She is featured in the current issue of Conversations magazine we have there on Amazon Live. Excited to be able to share a bit of her story with all of you. She's also contributed to the book you guys see here, 31 Ways of Influence. We're going to talk about one of her chapters that's featured there in that book as well, and let you all know how you can stay connected with LaWanna. LaWanna, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Cyrus. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, thank you. So I want to talk about the year that's been 2021. I mean, I've been joking with people and saying 2020 seemed to crawl, but it seemed like 2021 just flew. I mean, what was this year like for you?
Yeah, it was a whirlwind of excitement, a lot of firsts for me. As you know, that I had the opportunity to start a new TV show that now has 4 spin-off series. And it's just been an amazing ride, just expanding, growing, connecting with new people, both domestically and internationally.
I want to talk about the international part first, and we're going to come back because I definitely want to talk about that. We alluded to some of this in the feature you have for Conversations Magazine. LaWanna, for many people, the pandemic, at least on the outside, right? Of course, it's horrible, the tragedy that has come from it, and the loss of lives, loss of jobs for so many. But there were many opportunities that also opened up. Do you feel like this was a moment for you to take advantage of some of those opportunities?
Oh, definitely. And I think it came about by positioning myself to be part of the change narrative as it
Okay.
relates to the second wave of pandemic. Actually, there's 2 parts, the financial crisis that's facing women and also the mental health crisis. So it allowed me the opportunity to establish a stage presence, to collaborate with individuals, both internationally and domestically, to really get that message out, message of hope, encouragement, but more importantly, giving them the tools, the tactics, and strategies in order to insulate themselves, whether it's financially or from mental angst, and to expand and be the best that they were designed to be, both in business and in life.
So let's take our audience back, LaWanna, especially for those joining us on Amazon Live. And we appreciate you guys. If you guys have not done so already, encourage you guys to click below for the follow button. Also, the current issue of Conversations Magazine that LaWanna is featured in, you'll notice we have it highlighted in the carousel. Also in the carousel, you'll see this book, 31 Ways of Influence, as well as the other book that LaWanna contributed to, a book called Champions as well. So you guys will see that in the carousel there here on Amazon. for those who are just finding out about the Bradford Group, the LaWanna, before we go too far, talk to us about your role in it and what it's been like for you to see the growth over the years.
Well, the Bradford Group, we're an investment in commercial mortgage brokerage. We are celebrating 15 years this year, so that was a great high for us. And I started when I left corporate. I came on board just to work with my brother and provide him with support in developing streamlined processes and compliance guidelines for the company. And when the 2007-2008 crises hit, he had to do what was best for his family. So he left the company. I took it over, and we've just been rocking and rolling ever since, and just looking at ways to provide creative financing and strategies so people can own a piece of their American dream.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though the Bradford Group, from the time that you took it over, though, LaWanna, has definitely expanded, and the resources, I want to talk about that aspect, because I think this is an important aspect for our audience to know when we're talking about business. Because through the pandemic, one thing I noticed is that you were doing a lot of teaching. When you first took over the Bradford Group, did you realize that the educational component was going to be as big as it is now?
No, not at all. When I first took over, our focus was to make sure that we provided the best information so that people could make the best decision possible for themselves, so that they were the educated consumer. But now you're right. We teaching is first, and then establishing that business and that monetary exchange comes second. Because I feel that in doing so, our motto, making a difference, becomes something that's lasting and becomes an indelible mark when people interface with me or any of our loan advisors.
Yeah. And I think too, that is also what's helped you build the trust, but you've expanded a lot, and not just throughout the pandemic, even before that, as I referenced, you're being a contributing author. Was that something that you saw in the plans of LaWanna Bradford even 5 years ago, that you would be co-authoring books and now starting your own series coming up?
Yes, actually, I have always wanted to be a writer. I think if I did nothing, if I had to pick one thing in life, what would I do? And it would be write. But I think with all of us, we have our own insecurities. And I just never had the courage to get out there and finish. So I have many manuscripts in process, but I haven't finished anything. But the collaborative books gave me that doorway and that gateway to say, wow, I can be a part of something. My voice does matter, and I can make an impact. So that's how that came about. And I've enjoyed being a part of every collaborative effort.
Let's talk a little bit about 31 Ways of Influence. We're going to talk more about the Bradford Group and LaWanna Bradford, the individual who is behind it at this point. I mean, I want to talk about what you talk about in the book, because one of the chapters, and I mentioned it to you, LaWanna, that we wanted to discuss, was a chapter that I think is very appropriate to the work that you do with the Bradford Group, and that is consider the cost. You share a very personal story there, but also it ties into the whole theme of the book, which is about the Proverbs 31 woman. What has it been like for you to look at the life lessons you've been able to bring with you in your professional life?
I think the one thing in co-authoring this book and others, it's challenged me to expand and tell my story and share the highs and the lows, because you never know whose life you can impact by that. And with the 31 Ways, that particular chapter, Consider the Cost, it deals with a mortgage in a home purchase, an investment purchase that I had made. I was a new investor, and I was just so excited about buying my first investment property, right? And like, yes, I'm doing this, and I'm doing it on my own, but I knew nothing about investing. I didn't vet the person I bought it from. It was just, just blind trust. And it cost me so much money. So this whole chapter is about whether you're buying investment property or any major purchase, you have to weigh the cost, assess your risk. What's your risk tolerance before you make that decision? Because all money isn't good money. All purchase decisions are not the best decisions. And so that's the overarching theme of that, is to just be wise stewards over what you have, and to pause and weigh the cost before you say yes to a decision.
Yeah, such a great point. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, you are watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. We're streaming on other platforms as well. But make sure you guys here on Amazon give us a follow. You notice the follow button is below. Also below, you'll notice the newest issue of Conversations Magazine. LaWanna Bradford is featured in that issue, sharing a bit of her stories. You heard her say celebrating an anniversary this year with the Bradford Group, but also a lot of other great things going on with her as well. We're going to let you all know how to stay connected with LaWanna. So LaWanna, as you are building up your own reputation, your own authority, as you said, things have been expanding. You've been using video a whole lot and being a part of series that you've been able to create. Talk to us about what it's been like for you. As you said, now being a media personality yourself, how has that kind of come from the work that you already do?
I think a lot was birthed from having those key partnerships, you being one, and looking for different ways to get a message out there, and being a student of those that I see as experts in their particular industry. And it's interesting to hear you call me a media personality, and I'm thinking, I guess I have evolved into that. It just it wasn't. I don't think it was so much organic. I think it was strategically designed, but I never classified myself as that. And now that I do have this TV show called Choose to Challenge on Experience on Demand Network, it's humbling. It's humbling to know that people are interested in coming on my stage, talking to me, sharing their stories, sharing their experiences. And it allows me, again, to touch so many more lives, whereas before it was more that one-on-one. And now it's one to many. And that's just amazing.
Speaking of one of many, I think the other thing is the international component you referenced earlier, LaWanna, and that is you've been a part of international stages as well. Talk to us about the virtual experience for you. This has been a learning curve for a lot of people, but even before the pandemic, you were doing video. Do you feel like that kind of prepared you for where we are right now, where so much is being done virtually?
Oh, yeah, it definitely prepared me. And the one thing is I didn't fear it. I embraced it. I think I shared with you, if my 90-year-old father could get on video before me,
yeah,
like I can do this. But also I realized we understand the face-to-face and the live events have their place, and they truly add value. But my goodness, if I were only focused on the live events, I would only have influence within my city or wherever people could travel to. But now I'm touching everyone. We just did a financial wellness boot camp for women. And we had individuals from all over the US, Canada was represented, the UK was represented. That wouldn't have happened 2 or 3 years ago.
yeah.
So that's what's exciting to me about the virtual stage, is that you are truly able to reach and touch people around the world, create those partnerships and relationships, and not only do good within your home country, but then make an impact elsewhere in the world.
Yeah. Talk to us about that. I mean, the fact that you are a leader, you're a trendsetter, you're an example for so many. What has that been like for you to consider at this point in your career?
Very, very humbling. When people see me that way, I just see myself as LaWanna, and I'm just being me. But I also realize that through my life's experiences, both professionally and personally, it's equipped me for this time. My global travels, working internationally, working domestically, working corporate, as well as being an entrepreneur, all comes together to make LaWanna who she is now. And I think makes me and my message and my leadership presence more relevant and more accepting at this point in time.
You mentioned something I have to dive into a little bit more with you, LaWanna, and that is not fearing what has become part of our new norm. I won't say the whole of it, but at least now a part of it. And that is something that not everyone has done. What do you think helped you to do that? Because there are people, as you know, in business that are still waiting. They're waiting on things to go back to what they think is normal, or they've just given up because of all the changes we've had to make. What is it that made you decide to run forward instead of away from it? Hello to you, Melissa. Thanks for watching us on Facebook.
The one thing that Prime Minister Desraldes mentioned is the one thing that's constant is change. And one of the things that I teach is like, change is going to come. So watch the indicators. You want to be in front of the wave, or at least learn how to ride the crest of the wave. But the last thing you want to do is be overtaken by the wave or on the sidelines wondering, oh my gosh, was there a wave? So yeah, we're humans and we're resistant to change. I mean, that's normal. But for me, I feel the fear and do it anyway, because I know if I step out, I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna learn something new. And that to me is where the magic in life lies. If you just stay static and you're doing the same thing day in and day out, you're not growing, you're not challenging yourself. Just in my personality, that would be the most boring life I could live. But I believe in just tapping to the beauty and excitement of life, and that comes through just experiencing things that are new. I mean, like you and what you're doing now on Amazon. I mean, there's one thing after another that's unfolding, still in your lane, right, of genius, but it's still a new way you're doing it, right? It's like learning a new dance.
Yeah. Now you would bring up something I can't do, and that's dance. But I do get the point. Hey, I'm still trying to learn their own dances, LaWanna. I haven't got to this. But no, I mean, it's a great point. And I want to talk more about the show, because the show has grown and you've been able to have such a variety. But there is one of the hashtags we're using over there on Twitter for you, LaWanna, is female entrepreneurs. You have discovered what your niche is. How important has that been for you in building your brand? I won't say your business, but your brand. And how important has that been for you to share with others, the importance of knowing who your audience is?
I think it's so critical, because before I thought my niche was I wanted to just help businesses succeed, and my focus was on the big business. But then I realized that it's really the small business owners that are the economic engine of any economy. And then I started to just really embrace my femininity in a different way, and having conversations that I had not had before with women, and realizing the struggles and challenges that they have, not only here in this country, but in other countries. And I said, I want to be a part of the change. I want to make a difference. God has blessed me with so much knowledge, especially financially and strategically. I feel that it's not only my moral responsibility, but it's my fiduciary responsibility to now share the steps, the tools, so that people can find the stepping stones in life rather than be crippled by the stumbling stones.
Yeah, such a great point. Again, we want to welcome you all to Amazon Live and Cyrus Webb Presents. My guest today is LaWanna Bradford of the Bradford Group. We're talking with her not only about the milestone she's celebrating this year, 15 years now, the Bradford Group is celebrating, but also the great things LaWanna's been able to do, not only with the Bradford Group, but also with her own personal brand. Realizing that I was a brand was something that took me time to accept, LaWanna. Was that easy for you to embrace that it wasn't the business people were drawn to, it was you?
That was very hard to accept. And I think I'm still processing that, because I know when you and I talk, you're like, LaWanna, you are the brand. LaWanna Bradford is a brand. And I'm like, wow. And you're right, it is, because when we identify with that, a brand is your promise, right? It's my outward expression to the world. And it makes me more accountable to what I do, how I do it, and who I interface with.
Yeah. What a great thing. So I want to talk about the what's next. I mean, again, LaWanna's story is shared in part in the new issue of Conversations Magazine. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it again in the carousel there. You guys can get either the print or the Kindle edition just by clicking below. But LaWanna, what are you working on next that you can share with us that you're looking forward to?
Well, I'm working on my book series. And I don't want to get into the details with that, but that will be actually LaWanna's, not a collaborative. And I'm also going to have my own collaborative book that deals with life during and after the pandemic, but from a very unique lens. Not so much the woes that we all go through, but more from the highs from a business lens, because there are so many lessons learned. Success leaves clues. And just like the Great Depression and other economic times, and now we're dealing with a health crisis, there are so many opportunities to succeed, to make an impact, to make a difference. But you have to be willing to open up and to find it, and not just, sit on the sidelines hoping that things will just get better on their own. Be a part of the change, be a part of the difference that you want to see in the world. So that's what I'm doing. Also with my TV show, Choose to Challenge with LaWanna Bradford, that is going to continue. And with that piece of the show, we challenge women to have those difficult conversations, whether it be race relations, pay equity issues, healthcare issues. But then there are other pieces of it where we have Let's Get Loud about mental health. I'm going to continue with that, and that's expanding. We have an amazing panel that I just enjoy that bring just a unique twist on the conversation with mental health. Also, the power of the pen. So I am celebrating and honoring new authors. So to be authors who have books published in 2022. And they have to not only have their books published, but also have a presence on Amazon. And we'll be interviewing them. And so those are probably the key things. And then with the Bradford Group is we're repackaging some of our services and looking at how to expand that reach to let people know there are creative and innovative ways of financing that are legal, and that will enable you to, for example, if you're a small business owner and you've written off so much in your taxes, so you don't have the tax return to show your income, you can use bank statements and other type programs. So we really want to do a huge educational push first, knowing that the clients will follow second.
Love that. A lot of great things for us to look forward to. LaWanna Bradford of the Bradford Group is our guest. LaWanna, because we do know each other so well, the time just flies by. When I saw the alert just now, I'm like, there's no way it's been 25 minutes already. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, but I mean, I think that is a great thing about being able to have these conversations again and to be able to take that time to reflect. So I want to ask you something I've been asking a lot of people recently because I think it's an important thing. We're going to let our audience know how to stay connected with you. But the pat on the back, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is not waiting on other people to celebrate us, to actually celebrate yourself. How does LaWanna celebrate herself?
How do I celebrate myself? I sharing my successes. And that was hard to do because it's like you want to be humble, right? You don't want to let people know. Mm-hmm. But I thought, no, if I want to make an impact, then I need to let people know the great things that are happening. God has been good. God has blessed me with so much. And so that's how I celebrate. I'm opening it up. I'm expressing myself. I'm applauding myself. I remember reading something in a magazine a couple years ago, and it said, if you want the world to applaud you, you have to first learn how to applaud yourself. Yeah. And so that's literally what I'm doing every single day, finding the beauty in the day. And on your cover, you have Wendy Watkins there, and she talks about living that delicious life. And that's really about just celebrating the big and the small, not only waiting for it's got to be a birthday or an anniversary, but it's every day there is something brilliant and amazing to celebrate and to embrace. And that's what I do. That's what I challenge myself every day, to find that nugget to say, yeah, this was a good day.
Well, this was an amazing conversation with you, LaWanna, as I knew it was going to be. Again, everyone, LaWanna Bradford of the Bradford Group. Make sure you guys pick up the current issue of Conversations Magazine here on Amazon to be able to read more about LaWanna's journey, as well as you heard her mention Wendy Watkins is featured there, as well as Josie Edwards, all of whom I met through LaWanna, through another great community, Celebrate You. So make sure you guys do pick that up. Again, you have it in Kindle as well as the print edition, and the two anthologies that LaWanna has been a part of, 31 Ways of Influence. You guys see it there. And Champions. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it there. Champions is actually on sale right now for 99 cents on Amazon. So you guys can take advantage of that, getting it for just $1. You also will see my review on Amazon there as well. LaWanna, so glad to have you on with us. How can our viewers stay connected with you?
Thank you, Cyrus. They can connect with me on all things social media by LaWanna Bradford. With Instagram, it's the LaWanna Bradford, or my website, bradfordgroupmtg.com. That's bradfordgroupmtg.com.
Well, LaWanna, congratulations to you again. So glad we had a chance to spotlight you today, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. Be safe and be blessed.
Thank you, you as well. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Bye.